A bright flash of color, a POW, a BAM! And suddenly we're transported back to 1966, a time when Batman wasn't dark or brooding, but vibrant, playful, and impossible to ignore. It was a world of exaggerated villains, unforgettable catchphrases, and pure comic book magic. But behind the colorful costumes and lighthearted tone, something very different was unfolding in real life. Because while Gotham City looked fun and fearless, the people behind those masks were living stories filled with pressure, heartbreak, reinvention, and in some cases, tragedy. Fame came quickly, almost overnight, but for many of them, it didn't last the way anyone expected. Some would rise beyond the shadow of the bat signal, while others would struggle to escape it. And now, looking back from 2026, their real stories might surprise you far more than anything that ever happened on screen. Before we go any further, take a moment and tell us in the comments, who was your favorite character from Batman 1966? Was it the heroic caped crusader, the charming Robin, or one of the unforgettable villains? And stay with us until the very end, because the final story we're about to reveal might completely change the way you remember this legendary show. When Batman first aired in 1966, it didn't just become a hit, it became a phenomenon. Airing twice a week at its peak, the show captured audiences with its bold colors, quirky humor, and a style that felt completely fresh. It was unlike anything television had seen before. Adam West stepped into the role of Batman and instantly became the face of the character for millions. Alongside him, a talented cast brought Gotham City to life in a way that was theatrical, exaggerated, and endlessly entertaining. Every villain was larger than life, every scene filled with energy, every episode designed to leave a lasting impression. But while the cameras captured laughter, action, and adventure, real life behind the scenes was far more complicated. For many of the actors, Batman became both a blessing and a burden. It gave them fame, recognition, and a place in television history. But it also brought challenges they couldn't have predicted. Typecasting, personal struggles, shifting careers, and the harsh realities of Hollywood would shape their lives long after the final episode aired. What looked like a simple, joyful show would eventually be remembered not just for its entertainment, but for the deeply human stories of the people who brought it to life. Burt Ward burst onto television screens as Robin, the boy wonder, bringing youthful energy and undeniable charm to Batman's darker presence. At just 20 years old, he became an instant icon. But unlike many young stars, Burt Ward managed to avoid the chaos that often follows sudden fame. Behind the scenes, however, the role wasn't as lighthearted as it seemed. The physically demanding stunts left him with numerous injuries, including broken bones, all while working under intense production schedules. Yet when the show ended, Burt didn't fall into the trap of fading away. Instead, he reinvented himself. He stepped away from Hollywood's spotlight and built a surprisingly successful career in business, later dedicating much of his life to animal welfare. Alongside his wife, he co-founded a dog rescue organization that has saved thousands of animals. While many of his co-stars struggled with identity after Batman, Burt Ward found stability, purpose, and a life far removed from the pressures of fame. Julie Newmar brought a completely different kind of magic to the screen as Catwoman. Elegant, seductive, and effortlessly commanding. She didn't just play the role, she defined it. Her performance became the blueprint for every Catwoman that followed. But behind that glamorous image was a life shaped by both success and deep personal challenges. Julie enjoyed a thriving Hollywood career, appearing in films, television, and even on Broadway. Yet her most meaningful role came off-screen, as a devoted mother. Her son, who was born with Down syndrome, became the center of her world. Julie stepped away from the spotlight at times to focus on raising him, navigating a journey filled with both love and difficulty. Despite the challenges, she carried herself with remarkable grace. Over the decades, she transformed into a symbol of resilience and timeless beauty, continuing to inspire fans long after her days in Gotham City. Her legacy isn't just tied to Catwoman. It's rooted in strength, dignity, and quiet perseverance. Yvonne Craig entered the Batman universe later than most, but her impact as Batgirl was immediate and unforgettable. Strong, intelligent, and ahead of her time, her character quickly became a fan favorite. Yet, when the show ended, Yvonne faced a harsh reality that many actors from iconic roles know too well: typecasting. Despite her talent, she struggled to find roles that could separate her from the Batgirl image. Her acting career slowed, and the bright spotlight she once stood in began to dim. But Yvonne refused to let that define her life. She pivoted in a completely new direction, becoming a successful writer and memoirist. Through her words, she shared her experiences with honesty and reflection, offering fans a deeper look into the realities of Hollywood. In her later years, she also became an advocate and a voice of wisdom for those navigating the entertainment industry. When she passed away in 2015 after a battle with cancer, it marked the end of an era. But her legacy lived on, not just as Batgirl, but as a woman who adapted, endured, and found her voice beyond the screen. Alan Napier brought a sense of dignity and quiet sophistication to the role of Alfred, the loyal butler who was far more than just a servant. With his refined British presence and subtle wit, he became the emotional anchor of Wayne Manor. But unlike many of his co-stars, Alan's journey into Batman was not the beginning of his fame. It was simply another chapter in a long and steady career. Before Gotham, he had already built a reputation as a respected stage and film actor, working alongside some of the biggest names of Hollywood's golden age. Yet despite his success, Alan chose a life far removed from the chaos often associated with stardom. He valued privacy, consistency, and craft over celebrity. While others struggled with the aftermath of Batman's popularity, Alan quietly stepped back, embracing a more peaceful life. When he passed away in 1988, at the age of 86, it wasn't surrounded by scandal or tragedy, but with the quiet respect of a man who had lived his life on his own terms. In many ways, just like Alfred, he remained steady, loyal, and timeless until the very end. Cesar Romero's Joker was unlike anything audiences had ever seen before. Wild, theatrical, and completely unpredictable, he turned every scene into a spectacle. His laugh, his movements, his larger-than-life presence made him one of the most memorable villains in television history. But perhaps the most famous detail about his performance was the one he refused to change. Cesar Romero would not shave his iconic mustache, even for the role of the Joker. Instead, it was simply covered with makeup, a small but telling symbol of a man who refused to compromise his identity. Off-screen, Cesar lived a life that was just as colorful as his on-screen persona. He moved effortlessly through Hollywood's elite circles, known for his charm, style, and glamorous lifestyle. Yet behind that polished image, there was a layer of mystery. In an era when personal truths were often hidden, much of his private life remained carefully guarded. He never married, and speculation about his personal identity followed him quietly throughout his life. Despite this, Cesar maintained his elegance and professionalism, continuing to work well into his later years. When he passed away in 1994, he left behind more than just a performance. He left a legacy of individuality, confidence, and a Joker that would never be forgotten. Burgess Meredith transformed the Penguin into a character that was both bizarre and strangely compelling. With his distinctive voice, eccentric mannerisms, and almost theatrical intensity, he became one of Batman's most iconic villains. But long before he waddled into Gotham, Burgess had already lived a life filled with remarkable highs and difficult challenges. His career stretched back decades, spanning stage, film, and television, proving his versatility as an actor. However, his journey wasn't without struggle. During the era of Hollywood's blacklist, Burgess found himself caught in a political storm that disrupted the careers of many artists. Opportunities became scarce, and like many of his peers, he faced uncertainty about his future in the industry. On top of that, he battled serious health issues throughout his life, including injuries and illnesses that would have ended the careers of others. But Burgess Meredith was not easily defeated. He persevered, adapting and evolving with each setback. And in time, he experienced a powerful comeback, earning acclaim in later roles and reminding audiences of his immense talent. When he passed away in 1997, he left behind a legacy defined not just by his unforgettable Penguin, but by resilience, endurance, and a career that refused to fade quietly into history. So far, we've taken a look at some incredible journeys, stories of fame, reinvention, and quiet resilience. But now, we want to hear from you. Which Batman character left the biggest impression on you when you were growing up? Was it a hero, or one of Gotham's unforgettable villains? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And stay with us, because the stories coming next take a much deeper and more dramatic turn. Frank Gorshin didn't just play the Riddler, he became the Riddler. With his manic energy, sharp delivery, and unforgettable laugh, he turned the character into one of the most iconic villains of the entire series. Every movement felt electric. Every line delivered with a kind of intensity that was impossible to ignore. But behind that brilliant performance was a man quietly battling his own inner struggles. Frank dealt with severe anxiety throughout his life, something that often made the pressures of fame even more overwhelming. His career, while filled with moments of success, was never entirely stable. After Batman, he found it difficult to maintain the same level of recognition, moving between television appearances, stage performances, and stand-up comedy. There were highs, but also long stretches of uncertainty that tested his resilience. Despite everything, Frank remained deeply dedicated to his craft, continuing to perform and connect with audiences whenever he could. But his story took a heartbreaking turn in 2005 when he was involved in a tragic car accident that ultimately led to his passing. It was a sudden and devastating end to the life of a man whose talent had brought so much energy and excitement to the screen. And for many fans, his Riddler remains unforgettable, not just for the performance, but for the passion behind it. Lee Meriwether stepped into the role of Catwoman with elegance, intelligence, and a quiet strength that made her version of the character uniquely captivating. Though she appeared primarily in the 1966 Batman film, her presence left a lasting impression, standing alongside the other iconic portrayals of Gotham's most seductive villain. But Lee's journey was never defined by just one role. Before Batman, she had already achieved national recognition as Miss America, opening doors to a career in acting that would span decades. Unlike many of her peers, Lee managed to navigate the unpredictable world of Hollywood with remarkable balance. She built a steady career in television, appearing in numerous series and films, while also maintaining a grounded personal life. Yet, behind that stability came the constant challenge of staying relevant in an industry that often moves on quickly. Roles changed, opportunities shifted, and like many actors of her era, she had to adapt to an ever-evolving landscape. Through it all, Lee remained resilient. She embraced new opportunities, continued performing, and carried herself with grace even as the spotlight shifted around her. Her story may not be filled with scandal or controversy, but it speaks to something equally powerful: the ability to endure, to evolve, and to remain true to oneself in a world that rarely stands still. Adam West became Batman, but for many years that was both his greatest triumph and his greatest burden. When the show premiered in 1966, he wasn't just playing a superhero. He became the superhero for an entire generation. His calm voice, confident presence, and unmistakable charm defined the character in a way that no one had seen before. Almost overnight, Adam West was a household name. But when the bright lights of Gotham began to fade, reality set in. Hollywood had a hard time seeing him as anything other than Batman. The very role that made him famous also trapped him. Offers slowed down. Serious roles became rare, and for a time, it seemed like his career had reached a dead end. Behind the scenes, Adam faced personal struggles as well. The pressure of fame, combined with the sudden decline in opportunities, took a toll on his confidence and direction. There were moments when he questioned his place in the industry, wondering if he would ever truly move beyond the shadow of the cape and cowl. Years passed, and while he continued to work here and there, the spotlight was no longer as bright as it once was. But Adam West refused to disappear. Instead of fighting against the image of Batman, he eventually embraced it. With time, he found a new path, one built on humor, self-awareness, and reinvention. He began to lean into the campy legacy of the show, turning what was once seen as a limitation into his greatest strength. Voice acting opened new doors, and a whole new generation discovered him through animated roles and comedic appearances, most notably in Family Guy. Audiences who once saw him as a relic of the past began to celebrate him all over again. In his later years, Adam experienced something rare in Hollywood, a true resurgence. He was no longer trying to escape Batman. He had become its living legacy. Fans embraced him not just as the caped crusader, but as a symbol of a different era in entertainment, one filled with color, imagination, and joy. When he passed away in 2017 after battling leukemia, it marked the end of an era. But his legacy didn't fade. If anything, it grew stronger. Today, Adam West is remembered not just as Batman, but as the man who turned a role into something timeless, proving that even after the spotlight dims, a true icon never disappears. Eartha Kitt's Catwoman was something entirely different. Bold, magnetic, and impossible to forget. She brought a fierce elegance and raw intensity to the role that set her apart from everyone else. But long before she stepped into Gotham, Eartha Kitt had already lived a life filled with extraordinary highs and painful hardships. Born into poverty and facing discrimination from a young age, her early years were marked by struggle and survival. Yet through sheer determination and undeniable talent, she rose to become an international star, captivating audiences with her voice, her presence, and her fearless individuality. By the time she appeared on Batman, Eartha was already a global sensation. But her life took a dramatic turn in 1968, not on screen, but in real life. During a White House luncheon, she openly criticized the Vietnam War in front of Lady Bird Johnson. It was a moment of courage, but it came at a devastating cost. Almost overnight, Eartha Kitt found herself blacklisted in the United States. Opportunities vanished, doors closed. The industry that once celebrated her turned its back. For many, that would have been the end, but not for Eartha. She left America and rebuilt her career overseas, performing across Europe and continuing to thrive as an artist. It was a long and difficult exile, but it also proved her resilience. Years later, she would return to the United States and slowly reclaim her place in the spotlight. And when she did, it wasn't as someone trying to fit in. It was as someone who had already proven she didn't need permission to shine. In her later years, Eartha experienced a powerful comeback. She earned critical acclaim, won awards, and became a symbol of strength and independence. Her voice, her style, her unapologetic honesty, all remained as powerful as ever. But beneath the glamour and success, her life was deeply emotional. She carried the weight of her past, the pain of rejection, and the strength it took to overcome it all. When she passed away in 2008 after battling colon cancer, the world didn't just lose a performer, it lost a force of nature. Eartha Kitt's story is one of resilience, courage, and reinvention in the face of overwhelming odds. And for many, her Catwoman wasn't just a character. It was a reflection of who she truly was: bold, fearless, and unforgettable. They once stood together in Gotham, bright, bold, and larger than life.
To millions of viewers, they weren't just actors. They were heroes, villains, and unforgettable faces of a simpler, more colorful era of television. But as the years moved forward, the illusion slowly faded, revealing something far more real. Behind every mask, every smile, every dramatic performance, there were human lives filled with triumph, heartbreak, resilience, and change. Some of them found peace beyond the spotlight, building quiet, meaningful lives away from Hollywood. Others faced struggles that fans never saw, battles with identity, health, or the weight of fame itself. Careers rose and fell, opportunities came and went, and time, as it always does, changed everything. Yet somehow, the magic they created together never disappeared. Because for those who grew up watching Batman in 1966, it was never just a television show. It was a feeling, a moment in time, a piece of childhood that stayed with us long after the final episode aired. And even now, decades later, when we hear those familiar sounds, see those bright colors, or remember those iconic faces, it all comes rushing back. Their lives may have taken different paths, but their legacy remains forever connected. Not just to Gotham City, but to all of us who believed in it. If this journey brought back memories for you, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share your thoughts down below, and tell us which classic show you'd love to revisit next. Because sometimes, the stories behind the stars are even more powerful than the roles they played.